Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tracy Show, the Tuesday edition. I'm Tracy, and before I let my guest introduce himself, I have some bills to pay. So we're going to get this party started off right. Subscribe. I am at 177 in terms of subscribers, which means, if my math is right, that I am 23 away from 200. Subscribing literally costs nothing. If you see that red button somewhere on your face, on your YouTube account, hit it, obliterate it, smash it, destroy it. Um, am I coming back? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I has my podcast on another browser, so I had to close it. So hit the subscribe button, smash it, like it, just destroy it. Also support me on Patreon. Levels start at just $2 a month, which is 50 cents a week. You can follow that link. You can always go to Tracy Media LLC where you can watch this show live. It's actually live on the website, but we prefer you come here. But either way, you can always watch it. And lastly, before we get to our guest, the after party scheduled next week is going to actually move to the 29th. Remember, that's for Patreons who support the channel. Our topic will still remain the same. We're going to be discussing hard pressing issues such as best food mascot. That will be our discussion. We'll have a good time. We'll get to chat with each other. So it's going to be moved from it won't be the 22nd next week. It'll be the 29th. And I'll have a poll question here in a couple of seconds. But I want to have my guest introduce himself.
How you guys doing? My name is Donald for Show Martin. I am originally from Indianapolis, but I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been doing comedy, Christian comedy, for March 2nd to be 22 years. Father of three, comedian, actor. I travel all over the United States doing what I love to do, and that's to deliver the funny.
Oh, I got so many questions about church people. I got so many questions. But I'm gonna
You can ask them.
Oh,
Let's
I
talk.
will.
Let's
Trust me,
talk.
I will.
Talk.
But first, before I get to the before I get the first question, poll question to everyone: do you enjoy this new format? Where on Tuesday I'm keeping it light, and Thursday I'm sticking to the politics. One for yes, you enjoy it. You think this is the smartest thing I've ever done. Two, and we want you to stick to politics. I won't, but I just want to know what you all think of this new format. Um, and so my first question is, how did you get started?
I got started in March 2nd of 2002, actually. At our church, we had like a families and friends. And I asked my pastor, could I just, for families and friends, it was unorthodox type of service. So we had a lot of things going on. And I asked, could I perform? He told me to write it up. I wrote it up and I started doing comedy. But I was always funny. I was always the class clown. You know, most people knew I was funny, but March 2002 was like really when I was like, well, I still was a hobby. So I was like, well, let me try it.
Now, do you do comedy full time or do you have a 9 to 5?
So my comedy is full time. I do it full time, but I do have a job to support what I do. But I'm a full time comedian because I'm on the road every weekend.
Right. Okay. And so you said you were a class. Let me backtrack my question. I did not ask any of the previous comedians this because I was the first episode old when I realized comics wrote their joke. I had no idea. I just thought, oh, hand them a mic. Here you go. Go, go, go. Apparently, you all write jokes. I didn't know this, so I
Right.
learned something. So I'm wondering, what do you, especially in Christian comedy, which is a niche in itself, right?
Hmm.
Um, what do you classify as one, a funny comic, and then second, a Christian comic, or are they both the same?
No, well, I mean, you have like different types of comedy. You have more like the rated R comedy. You have the clean comedy, and then you have the Christian comedy. So let me break it out. Like, so when you deal with like the normal comedy that you hear is with the profanity, or sexual suggestions or whatever, and then you have like what is the with the clean comedy where you take out the derogatory words, where you can still like, for instance, one comedian broke it down just like this. You have like John Legend and you have Maxwell. They both sing love songs, or it's Keith Sweat or whoever you want to use. So they both make, or Tank or Chris Brown. They both make an R&B love songs, but you may have one that's more explicit in their love song, where John Legend is maybe talking about love itself, like, you and me or whatever. But then you may deal with Tank. It's still a love song, but he's getting more illicit in the love song, more vivid, more actual description of making love sexually, where both of them are making the love music, but it's two different genres. So with Christian comedy is literally where we don't make fun of the Bible, we don't do any of them things, but it's geared to the edification of Christ, but also the encouragement to the people, whoever the people may be.
And I think that's really important. So I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that annoys me about some comics, and I'm going to say this, I have seen Harlem Nights 18,247 times. I can quote the movie start to, you pick a
Right.
scene and I can pretty much quote it. But in terms of stand up, it really annoys me when comics just go that profane, just like they just go to it. Like, I'm always like, mix some other words in there, put something else in there, do something else. And it's just that, or I smoked a joint and I did, I'm like, okay. And maybe because I just don't get it, I'm just like, this isn't funny to me.
So with me, so that's a good point. I always say people do what they want, but I'm a storyteller. Like, mom jokes about my mom. My mom raised four boys in Flint, Michigan. So I'm a storyteller. So in my jokes, I could tell story after story of my mom being married at one time, dating, raising children, working. Like, so I use my own personal life and come a joke, write jokes about it. And so with me, I'm a storyteller. I feel like I'm sitting down at the table and we just having a conversation, because all I'm doing as a comedian is I'm introducing myself to the people. I am literally letting people know who Donald for sure Martin is. And so when you get all the profanity, when you get all of that, a lot of these, some of these comedians don't have other vocabulary, or they believe like the only right way you can make it is being derogatory. But many times when you study the history of comedy, Red Fox started off as a clean comedian. Cedric Entertainer, a lot of these comedians that you see now, they may use profanity. I'm talking about bigger ones. But most of them start off as clean comedians because you got to get in the door. And once you get in the door and then you get fan base, then you can say what you want to say. But for me, I'm strictly Christian clean comedy.
And, you know, um, the first show I did with the comics, I named my three comics. And I said, I don't think George Carl is funny. Because to me, when you badmouth Jesus, I'm off of it. Like, I don't care what you say. I don't care. It's going to be fight time, not fight. Well, yeah, it's
I
going to
know
be
I know
fight
what you mean.
time. Because I, I don't think there's a joke that you can make about Christ's death, burial, and resurrection. There's like, it's not funny. Now, church people. Now, see, church people is that's a whole different subset. Because church people, if y'all don't know, especially black church people, I don't go to other churches, but black church people, funniest people you will ever, and I mean ever find. And the older they are, the funnier they are.
Amen. And that's the thing. So I grew up in church. I mean, I feel like I was born in the church. So I don't make fun of the church. I don't make fun of the Bible. I don't make fun of Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, or even God. What I do is I just bring our experiences that we didn't had in church, and I just bring it to light. Because what makes things funny is because we can relate to it. When I say a joke about the deacons was our praise and worship team, like we didn't have a praise and worship team, we had the deacon.
Devotion.
Yeah, so do you see what I'm saying? That's what makes it funny because you can be in a church in Mississippi and you can be a church in Michigan. And if I could tell you the number one song that a deacon sing was Jesus is on the main line.
Mainline, yep.
Right. Now understand, we don't even know each other, but we all have the same experience when it comes to the black church. So since we have that experience, that's what makes it funny because now we're able to relate to, and that's why even with comedy is objective because a lot of people don't necessarily like Donald for Show Martin, but most people that I come in contact with, they be like, man, I remember my mother did me like that, or I remember going to church like that, or I remember because when it's relatable, it becomes funny because sometimes in the mind we think we're the only one, or the only region, or the only state, or the only city, or the only county that's ever been through that, but you'll find out, oh, especially with the black church experience, Mississippi, Arizona. I travel all over the United States, and I can say one joke. Like I tell this joke where you're gonna finish what I'm going to say. Your mother used to tell you, "I brought you in this world.
I'll take you out.
It doesn't matter." You see what I mean? That wasn't on social media. We didn't have social media back then. So how do you know the same saying that I know and we don't even know each other? Because the black experience, whether it's church, whether it's family, whether it's rearing children, whatever, you find out we all have the black experience. So that's what makes it funny, is because we can relate to whatever's being said. So when they talk about the weed and all that, it's not funny to you because that is not your vernacular. Even in your language, even in your dialect and how you talk, I don't talk like that. So that's not appealing to me. But what is appealing to you is how you was raised, church, raising children, relationships. That's what makes it funny.
Right. Now, do you mostly play in churches or do you play outside the church?
I do whatever. I'm funny is funny. I do church in a club because it
Now,
doesn't matter.
now talk about the difference between the two.
The club in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it used to be an issue with me. It used to be a problem with me when I was when I was coming up because I for 10 years, 11 years only did churches. So then, but I wanted to know if I was really funny. So I was like, let me do a club, and I was doing the same jokes. I mean, the same exact jokes, and people loved it because you'll find out, especially in the black community, you went to church. You went to church with your grandma or your auntie. You went to church. So I found out funny is funny. So there's no difference for me. A lot of Christian communities can't do clubs. And so they shy away from that. But because I have the experience and God has blessed me with the knowledge, I could go into a club and be like, God, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? And then I can do it. And I don't compromise who I am. Because if I tried to curse, I tried to do all that stuff. I did try when I was in, as the old church folks say, in the backsliding stage. I tried all that, but that wasn't me. So I just stick to me. And people, one thing about people, no matter if they've been drinking, smoking, whatever, people recognize real. It doesn't matter. So I get calls from bikers, all of them just to come do a show. And they know I'm a clean comedian or a Christian comedian. They know. But I'm funny. It doesn't matter. I'm funny.
I want to get back to your first um show, the very, very, very first show that you did.
Mhm.
So you talked about it and you said you approached your pastor. What's the difference between you then and the difference between you now?
Confidence, purpose, knowing that this is what I was designed and created to do. So I go into any situation, anywhere I go, it doesn't matter. God is with me, and I know I'm funny. So my confidence is like, because I know it's His gift. And then since I know it's God's gift, every time I get up, before I get up, I say, God, this is your gift. So if I ain't funny, it's on you. It ain't on me. And God is never short of His word.
Yeah, that's a great thing because I'm just going to assume as a non-comic that you want to evolve. You know, you want to expand your joke base, your writing in terms of, because again, I didn't know comics wrote jokes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you want to expand your writing, expand in terms of your confidence, your abilities to make the audience laugh. But here comes another question, and I never asked this one. How do you deal with it? How do you, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Have you ever experienced where the audience was just like, no, I'm not gonna laugh? And how, if you did, how did you deal with it?
So what I have done with that before. What you think a joke would, because I go travel all over the United States. So it may be funny in Indiana, but not funny in South Carolina. You know what I mean? So what you do is you tell that joke, and then really my thing is I pray, and then I'll be like, okay, did I do my homework? Did I do, like, where am I at? And then I find a joke. Usually when you talk about parenting and growing up, usually I find a joke where it is a general joke that works wherever you go. So as a comedian, we have certain jokes that we can pull out the bag. We can pull out like this joke gonna hit no matter where we go. So you deal with it that way. You have jokes where you may be hesitant about by certain jokes, but then there's certain jokes excuse me, just due to experience, this joke is going to work.
Now that's another thing that is perplexing me, and I hope you can explain this to me because I really am trying to like expand my comedy range. I mean, I'm used to Christian comics because that's all I'm used to, but I'm trying to like expand my base. Um, when are you said you could go back to a joke. Do you have a limit of how many? Like, if you wrote a joke 5 years ago and that joke hit then, one, how do you know it's going to hit now? And two, how do you know when it's time to start writing new jokes?
So this is the thing. Them are great questions. So first of all, you know it's going to hit because it's a relatable joke. Like going back to I brought you in this world, I take you out. Because then if I say I brought you in this world, the artist is going to say I take you out. Now I'm getting a response from them because with the audience, it's all about getting them to respond or getting them engaged in what you're saying. And then number two, with the joke, writing new jokes, you have a general jokes, but you just build. So that joke that you wrote 5 years ago, that's the foundation. Then you just write jokes and build on top of that joke and build on top of that joke. The
Okay.
foundation is still the one you did 5 years ago, but you expand it because through experience in life, the things that you done been through, you just add on to the joke where it's a. So let me give you an example. Like I still do a joke. I do a joke about when my mother used to take me to the store, and she used to always say, "Don't ask me for nothing.
Don't
Don't
touch
touch
nothing.
nothing." See what I mean? You know what I'm about to say.
Yep.
You already smiling on that because every parent done that, and we done it. So now I'm 48 years old. I'm getting older, and my mother's getting older. So now I'm getting to raise my mother. So now when I take my mother to the store, I tell her, don't ask for nothing, don't touch nothing, don't look at nothing. Because it's the same joke, but now instead of her doing it to me, I have the opportunity to do it to her. Same
Yeah.
joke. Same joke. I
But
just
she's
flipped it.
gonna touch what she wants to touch,
Yeah,
right?
no, 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 no. I'm a petty son. I'm raising you.
Oh boy, I remember my mother lived with me. She literally took over. I'm like, but this is my house. It stopped. It stopped. Like she moved in with me, right? My house. I'm paying the rent. I'm paying all of it because it's my apartment.
Yeah.
She took over. This one, like, Nick, she didn't touch anything when you said don't do anything. She actually did it because my mother, rest in peace, and my father too. When he lived with me, I'm like, so I don't know what kind of parents you have, but boy, I could have used that advice for a lot because I'm like, wait a minute, they actually didn't. She actually didn't ask for anything.
No, so once again, it's a joke. So because I'm just enlightening, or I'm just touching points on what made you think. You may not do it, but you have thought about, man, I wonder what it felt like to raise my mama, to raise my father. I would do her just like she do me. Hmm.
See, I was scared to do that though. I was scared of my
I've never,
mother.
I've
I'm
never,
scared
I,
of my. She's been gone
so,
20 years. I'm still scared of her. I'm like, okay.
but when I stand, I've never done that, but it's a joke. That's because after the show, people was like, I mean, your mama's still in the car. Have you went to go check on your mama? Because we grew up in the car. Your mother go inside the store. You had to stay in the car for 3 hours, and it'd be 200 degrees outside, and she would crack the window. So now I do my mother like she did me, and that's what makes it funny is because people think, man, I wonder what it is to raise my mom, because I know how she raised me.
Drill sergeant. Oh, I'm like um, and we have a question. Hello, Parker. So Parker says I have the same question I asked last week's show. What is the longest amount of time you have been on stage telling jokes?
Hour and 15 minutes.
Wow, you win the prize because I've heard everything from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. Yep, you win.
I've been doing it for 22 years.
That's a
I'm
whole special. You realize you're like two steps away from a Netflix
Yeah, and I'm
special.
working on that now. I'm actually about to
Oh,
be on series XM. So I mean, you're talking to someone that sees it. Like you're talking to someone that took comedy classes, that teach comedy classes. I'm a mentor to a lot, and I've been longevity makes a difference. So 22 years, God has really just been great to me,
yep.
and so comedy, that's who I am. I was created to do this. And see, that's the difference. Like we're going back to the beginning from now, from what it be when I began to who I am now. I was created. God created me to do this, to bring joy. And so I know that this is God's gift that He's using me for.
Yep,
And
and
so
we definitely need it with the times we're going through. But um, I forgot my question. Keep talking. I'm like, wait
so
a
so
minute. I'm like,
so
wait a minute.
because we need it now, because now even comedians are beefing with each other, they're arguing with each other, and all these things are going on, and we need joy. See, I don't offer just laughter, I offer joy. Where the fruit of the spirit is joy. And so my whole goal is to change the atmosphere when you come into the presence of me in representing God in what I do.
Now here's my question. This goes back to a question I previously asked. This is just a simple yes or no question. The long praying deacon. Do you do the imitation of the long praying deacon, or do you just say the joke about the long praying deacon?
I say the joke. I don't necessarily do the long praying deacon, but my deacons I grew up with, I do the joke when they say, Our Father, Abraham, Isaac, and
Jacob.
see what I mean?
But some of them deacons, I'm like, okay, it's what time? Okay. And then in most churches, you had to stand up when they was praying, right? You
Yeah.
didn't get to sit down. You had to stand up. Seemed like 25 minutes. I'm like, okay, okay. So you don't just do the imitation. Like, dang, I was gonna ask you to give us an example because people don't know what I'm talking about when I say
Yeah,
this.
you talking about? Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily, but like I said, I do like a order. I do a order of service, whether it's the choirs. We have 20 choirs. Whether it's the usher, whether it's the preachers that only preach once every year, once a year, the slow preacher, the excited preacher, the testimony service, the difference between a lighter church and a darker church, uh, how a how a lighter preacher ends and how a darker preacher ends. I do all of that as well.
Wait a minute, let me go. I gotta go back on this one because you just threw out something new. Are both of these preachers black?
No,
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, wait a minute. There's a difference. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Because I'm like, well, wait a
I
minute.
don't like to say the word black and white.
Ah, got it. Okay, got
So
it.
lighter and dark. I say light, and then
Okay, got it. Because I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's a difference between a dark skinned preacher and a light skin. It's a difference.
light. I meant to say light.
Got it. Okay. How do you deal with? Have you ever dealt? Um, and I don't know if you would get this in. You may if you go to one of those
I mean,
honest.
I go to clubs and everything. Sure.
No, my question is, have you ever dealt with a heckler? Because I've seen some comedy snippets where I'm just online and people will, because I didn't realize, I thought comedy clubs had like security that would stop people from just walking up on stage and interacting with the comic. That just blew my mind. I'm like, because you're not far from the audience. Like, you're here, the audience is like maybe 2, 3 feet in front of you. How do you keep yourself? Well, I know ultimately what you're going to say, but how do you worry about safety? Because I would be scared out of my wits.
I don't worry about safety because my comedy is uplifting. I don't talk about people in the audience. I don't engage. My comedy is what everyone can relate to. It's feel good. So it's hard for some if somebody come up angry at me, they just angry at the world. But I don't get up there and do offensive talk about different stuff. I just talk about life. And most every for 22 years, I've never really had no one aggressive or even a heckler. I've never had any of that because I'm because of my voice, because of my presence, because of the way I hold myself. People pay attention and people, oh man, yeah. I mean, I have people that after a show will be cursing at me like blankety blank. You were so funny and you didn't even say a cuss word. You didn't use. So I've never had that experience because my comedy is uplifting.
Talk about more in depth about, I don't want to say the challenges of being a Christian comic, because I'm sure there's Christian comics that literally I can only think of, well, you and maybe like Jonathan Slocum, but I think he's kind of ventured out too. Like, how do you how can I phrase this question? When you're connecting to other Christian comics, are you all connecting? Is there like an association? Is there a club? Is there a like a prayer call? Or is there a something that y'all all do together? Or is it just, hey, I'm in this for myself and we can just.
Right. So I get what you're saying. So we do actually have a LOLGCA. It's a living out loud uh, Christian comedy. We have like association. We meet once a year in October, like in the east. Like this year, we'd be in Norfolk, Virginia. So it may be like 100 of us get together, and we just, hey, we have an award show. We do a gala. We do all of that. So we do have that. But then when you deal with because Christian, the challenges of Christian comedy is that some people think we're corny. Some people think that, oh, you can't be funny. So even when there's a host, I tell them, don't even announce that I'm a Christian comedian or anything. Just call my name, Donald Fisher Martin. Then when I get up and do my bid and do what I do, people be like, oh my God, I just noticed that you didn't even use any profanity. You were so funny. You were so amazing. So it can be a challenge, but that's where the confidence in knowing who you are, where I can go in any job anywhere. I could be the only clean comedian on the stage, which I did this past weekend at the All Star Weekend. I was the only clean comedian, and I was talking about church, and I was the very thing that I was doing I could do in church. I was doing at a lounge because but once again I have that experience. I've been doing it for over 2 decades. So over the longevity and the things, it's a little bit different for me because Einstein said you become an expert after 10,000 hours. So I've been doing it for a while, and I'm just now seeing the fruit of my labor.
Yep. Parker, I'm not going to bring your question up, and I'm going to go ahead and ask it. Parker wants to know, who are some of your favorite comedians?
And that's funny. Who is my favorite comedians? They're not Christian. Like I like a lot. God rest his soul, David Arnold. He was one of my favorite comedians. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
died in 2022, like September, October 2022.
yeah. He
He
was
was
real
one of my
young.
favorite because he's a storyteller. I'm a big fan of God rest his soul, Bernie Mac. I was a big fan of Bernie Mac. And then this guy named Ali Sadiq. Ali Sadiq is out of Houston. Check him out. He's a guy that tells stories, but he's just not telling jokes, but he's telling life experiences that just happen to be funny.
Who do you? And I know you, Parker said who your favorite comedians are, but who you're you want to be unique. But obviously, when you look up to someone, you're kind of not trying to pattern what they do, but you're studying them, right? You're studying
Yeah.
them to see how they craft jokes and how they, how they frame a story, what to do if the audience says, not today, or if the audience just laughs to the point they're on the ground and you can't even tell a joke because they're just laughing that hard. Who is it? And it could be those three you just named, but who are some other comedians that you find yourself studying?
I mean, of course, I love Sinbad. I forgot about putting he's probably be out of them threes. Sinbad is probably one of my top ones because I'm a storyteller, so Sinbad tells stories. So I love that out of Sinbad. I mean, you can say I studied Kevin Hart, I studied Dave Chappelle, and it's basically their cadence. It's basically their how do they transition words. Even when I watch comedy now, no matter who's on Netflix, whatever, or YouTube, I watch to see how they command the crowd. I watch how they transition from one subject to the next, and how they have one joke and loop it around to the end joke. Their first joke end up being their last joke as well.
I got to get into acting. Got to get into it. As a stage theater junkie, I always am asking, why do comics seem to make the transition from stand up comedy to acting? Well, not all of them.
Yeah,
God bless them. But some of them have made that transition so well. And then certain other comics, it's like, it's flawless. Like Eddie Murphy, best
yeah, yeah,
example I
yeah.
can think of. His
Right.
transition from acting to serious acting, back to comedic acting, back to now stand up, I think he's trying to do. It's just like it all weaves together. Are you trying to do that same thing? Or are you just like, no, I don't need to act. I can just do the stand up?
Well, I'm about to be in a TV series called Sharswood. So acting is part of because I believe it's all different personalities. And the crazy thing is that I'm really like if most people like whether it's my coworkers or people that know me, I am 95% serious all the time. Comedy is just a gift. It's an alter ego, I say. So I'm serious most of the time. Comedy is just a gift that I have. But then I can act. I can do drama. I can do comedy. I could do all of that because I recognize when Donald Martin gets on stage, Donald Martin turns to for show. So you just gonna get for show for an hour and 15 minutes or less, or whatever. But when I get off stage, you're gonna get Donald Martin. So you got to separate for show from Donald Martin.
Yeah, now I'm gonna be all nosy and start asking you about this new show. Is it a comedy? Is it a
No,
sitcom or
no, it's not a
drama?
sitcom. It's a drama. So Sharswood, it was on 60 Minutes in August of 2022. It was so Sharswood, Sarah Miller was like the 1867. She was born. She was like because even when emancipation came in 1865, a lot of slaves didn't know they were still free. So
Okay.
it was a Virginia tobacco plantation where her family been on there for 200 years. So the stories about Sarah Miller, Sharswood, it was a Sharwood's plantation in Virginia. It was a tobacco plantation, one of the biggest plantations in the East Coast. So it's dealing with her life on how she got the slaves to be free, even though they was already free. So it's a drama. It's going to be a major movie.
Oh, movie. Okay, because
Well,
I.
no, I'm sorry, a series. They was going to make it a movie, but they decided to put it in series.
Okay, so they're like filming it all and then breaking it into. Okay, got it, got
Yeah,
it, got
yeah,
it, got
yeah,
it,
yeah.
got it, got it.
It's a
Understood.
TV series. Yeah,
Okay, so I played this game last week and I thought it was really good, so I'm gonna do it with you. And I hate
sure.
that I didn't do it with my first comment, but I literally thought about it the last second. Okay, so I give you three scenarios. You could either host a game show, be the star of a sitcom, or act in a Shakespearean play.
I'm gonna be the
Which one?
host. Host.
Nobody's picking sitcoms. I literally thought, oh, they're gonna all pick sitcoms because it's just
Mhm.
Martin
But
Lawrence and
because with a host, you can control the narrative.
yeah, but I'm thinking of Drew Carey, like, because he hosts The Price is Right. All he's doing is just standing up there with that mic and like,
But
come on,
but but
Dan.
if you watch him, he's controlling the emotions of the people. Whether they coming down, whether they coming down, he gets to interact with the people. Because
But I
with a
thought,
sit, because with a sitcom, in my opinion, with a sitcom, it's a script. You got to go, and she said, and he said, but with a host, you can ad lib, you can improv, you can come off your brain.
I thought for sure you was gonna pick sitcom. I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna pick sitcom for sure. And then I could talk about Martin, and I could talk about Sanford and Son, and then I could talk about and then I could talk about this.
So speaking of Sanford and Son, a lot of people don't know Red Fox was a clean comedian at first.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that.
Yeah, he started off clean. So
Yeah,
'cause
but he sure
most of them
didn't end
started
up
clean.
that way. I'm like,
Well,
he did.
because at the time there was no money in doing clean comedy, and I've been told plenty of times you won't make it in this business unless you curse or whatever. But God is more for me than the world is against me. So I'm
Absolutely.
I'm
Now,
good.
yeah, now when you how how do you book shows? Do you have an agency that represents you, or are you picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, can I play at your?" Because every black church has that. It's either called Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, Friendship
Friendship.
Missionary Baptist Church, or
Yeah, yeah,
Metropolitan Baptist
yeah.
Church, or the church I go to, First Baptist. One
You
of
go
them four.
you go to was that Hicks?
Yes.
Yeah, Hicks. I know you're talking about. I know. Yeah, I mean, I know every black church and
Like
it
they got the
is.
same four names. I'm like, okay, if it's some
Yeah.
black people, it's a friendship somewhere in the
Well,
midst.
it's word of mouth. I get a lot of word of mouth because once again, I've been doing this for a long time, so a lot of word of mouth. I do have an agent now. I do have an agent, but with an agent, you can have multiple agencies because an agent only get paid when you get paid. So you don't want to sometimes limit yourself to one agency or one agent. I got an agent. I mean, I'm having. I got a. I can send some stuff to an agency in San Diego, agency in New York. where I send them my material, and then they'll shop it for me, and they only get paid if they get somebody to love what I do.
Right. What's the smallest audience you've ever played for?
7.
And what's
And,
the largest? Smallest and largest, I'm sorry.
oh no, so the largest been over 2,000 in Gary, Indiana. The seven the seven was in where was that at? Victorsville, California. The guy that I performed for him, it was only 7 people, and he was a writer on the Moesha show. But that's why you gotta love it. You gotta love it. You have to
Yeah.
love it.
See, now I would excel with the 7 because that's only 7 people. 2,000? Oh, I'm fainting. That's it. Just call the ambulance because I'm not going to be able to stand in front of 2,000 people and go,
Well, it's but the energy, what you do with the 2,000 people is you just find a sect of people to love what you do and hope everybody else laughs around with you talking to these 25, 35, 45 people. So, and I
oh,
love it.
I can imagine that with the field that you're in, it comes a lot of challenges. Um,
Oh yes.
talk about, because I'm like, well, I know how you overcome them, but I'm not even going to assume that. I'm not going to assume that. Talk about some of the challenges with being a Christian comic, being around other comedians and say, hey, you're not going to make money unless you just, smoke this, say this, do that.
Um, it's always challenges, but once again, that's just because of my relationship with Christ, my relationship. I know that it's not about being famous. I know it's not about my name in the lights. Them things have happened. But I know at the end of the day, my job is to impact lives, one individual at a time. One individual at a time. So I don't go in this with an idea. I gotta be famous. I gotta make it. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I go on with the I go on with the attitude of God. This is your gift. You just happen to use me because at any one time, if God told me to stop doing comedy, I'll be like, I'm done because it's what He wants. Trust me, I didn't I didn't choose comedy. Comedy chose me. God chose me. I was a finance. I made over $200,000 a year being a finance manager. I was doing great, and God said, I need you to give all that up to follow me and follow my passion. So I got nothing to lose, and I won't lose. So even when you get the challenges become a part of my skit, become part of my life. So I can tell people like you, tell other people that's listening, they may listen to it later, to let them know that God is with me and I am successful because I'm living in the will of God. That's it.
Thank you. Because there was, there's a, you know, do, doing the podcasting thing. I'm trying to be all serious. It's a chore. I'm like, oh my gosh, why don't I just shut up? But then I'm like, well, no, then something happens. I'm like, gotta get on here and talk about it. So I get what you're saying, and I'm glad that you said what you said because I definitely needed to hear that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely needed to hear that. So I'm gonna ask a whole left field question because I was seriously thinking, oh, he's gonna pick the sitcom because you got this show and you got this show. But I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna just squash it. We'll let it go. So you talked about a comedy special, and I've always been confused about something. When a comic does a special or just a regular show, there's like the headliner, right? And
Mhm.
then there's the acts that come before the headliner or after the headliner.
Before.
Okay, so they come before the headliner.
Headliner
So
is the last comedian.
okay, and they get the majority of the time, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever have you ever been, I'm assuming you've been a headliner and have been the undercard?
So
Is that
it's
what they
so
call it?
so most time what you have is you have a guest spot, a feature, and the headliner. I've been all three.
What's the? I mean, I know the difference between them, but talk about. Are you pulling the same jokes? Are you saying no? I'm the headliner, so I gotta pull this one. I gotta pull my best jokes because I'm the headliner. Or you just like, hey, I'm pulling my best jokes. It doesn't matter whether I'm the first one, the second one, or the third one.
So with the like the guest spot and the feature, so the guest spot may have 5 minutes to 7 minutes, or at most 10 minutes, and then the feature may have up to 20 to 25 minutes. The headliner may have up to 45 minutes. So when I'm doing the guest spot and when I'm doing the feature, it can be the same jokes, but you just eliminate you just you shorten your jokes. Mind you, I told you I'm a storyteller, so you just shorten your jokes. It's the same jokes, but you may take some things out of it. But
That
when you're the
makes sense.
headliner, you telling all your jokes, but you telling your stories. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense because again, people say, "Oh, you're funny." I'm like, no, I'm not, because I think there's a difference between being funny and then being stand up funny.
Oh, it's totally
I
different. That's
mean,
why.
they're two totally different things. Well, I think, yes, I'm humorous. There's no way I could stand up there and tell, right, first of
Yeah,
all, write a joke. Nope. That's not what he told me to do. Nope. And then to tell it and then not faint and then get not throw up and then not and then not and then not.
because you got a lot of people that are. It's easy to be funny around your family because they know your temperament, they know your behavior, they know your modes, they know your facial expressions, they know all that. But when you got to be funny in front of strangers, it's a different world because these people don't know you. So yeah, that's why you have a lot of people that can be funny on Facebook or internet, but when they gotta get in front of people and tell jokes, because when you're on the internet and when you can edit all that, but when you got to get in front of people and tell jokes that don't know you, that's a challenge, and you got to understand that's two different things.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely a calling. I'm like, well, I know my lane. Two things I know: I'm not a comic and I'm not a sinker. You don't want to see me doing neither one of them things because no, we not gonna travel down that road. We're not gonna go down that road. We're gonna just stay where I'm supposed to stay and be happy with it. But you talked about putting your children in your routine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've heard some comedians either they have two types of children or three. The child, I'm assuming you have more than one child.
You have three beautiful children.
Okay, so you have three. So there's the one child that's super smart, the one that's kind of average, and the one that's just like you. So they're probably like the baddest child. So you're always talking. Do you talk about one child specifically, or you just, well, my children did this?
I just do my children, and then I do jokes. I got my children are like I got a son that's 6'8", 6'9". Like I got a son that's 6'3", about 400 pounds. So I do jokes about like them being scared of the dark or being big kids, about how to discipline big kids and stuff like that. You know. So I talk about that.
Are they minor children or adult
Oh,
children?
they're adults now. They're adults now.
Oh, well, then they can't really do nothing about it.
No, no, no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're adults now. But they still like I got jokes about them and they love my jokes.
Um, I want to talk about something else, and I cannot think of this comedian's name. Um, Not Small Fire. She's female. I cannot think of this. His face is right in my head, and I'm y'all. Pardon. I want to look this up. I should have did it, but I'm not. I can't think of his name. But he's a Christian comedian, and he had the Netflix special. Um,
Country Wayne,
no, not Country Wayne. This
because
this
I'm about to
guy.
say he's not a Christian comedian. Yeah,
Um,
Michael Jr.
Michael Jr.'s black. This guy is definitely not black. But he had
Yeah,
like a whole Netflix special. Like, like he was getting like Monique time and Dave Chappelle time.
and he
And
was a Christian comedian.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know who that
Wait a
is.
minute now. I'm
He was
gonna
a
get.
white. He was a white guy.
Yes. Hold on a second. I know this guy's name, and he was on the. Well, he was on the 700 Club. Uh, way back in the day. He's like in his mid 30s. No, I'm gonna find this because I think this guy is like a good example of what I'm talking about. Um. Okay. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Okay. Y'all gonna we gonna just we gonna just y'all pardon me. I know I shouldn't have did this, but his name his face is like right there in front of my face. John Christ. That's his name. John Christ.
Oh, I never really watched him. I probably need to go. Since you mentioned his name, I probably need to go.
Yes, because he talks a lot about his childhood.
Okay.
And he tells these stories, and when you start saying, "Oh, I talk about stories," I'm like, "Who's that comedian?" Yes, his name is John Christ. I mean, you're funnier than he is, but I'm just saying.
But yeah,
I'm just trying. I was like thinking,
yeah.
what's his name? What's it? You know, something annoys you, and you're like, no, I'm gonna sit here and think about their name until I think about it, until I
Right,
think
right.
about it, until I think about
Because I
it.
could be talking about something else, but you're gonna be still thinking about.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get this before I get off the
Right,
air.
right.
I want to talk about. You said that you book your own shows. Um, what happens like after the show? I'm curious, like, do you just go home and go to sleep? Do you hang out like after you've done the meet and greet with the audience? Because I'm assuming there's a meet and greet with the audience. Do you go home? Do you go to the club? Do you go to White Castle? Where is it? What is it that you're doing like after the meet and greet is over, after the fans have gone home,
If
after
I'm
the club closed?
if I'm out of town, I go to the hotel. If I'm in the area wherever I'm at, I go home. I'm so like with me after a comedy show, because it's so much draining and I become very quiet. So I go like, yeah, I want to get away. I want to get away. I may do some chop it up with some people, but I want to go. I want to go away. So I go back to my cubby and I got to think about what did I say. I got to think about I said this word too much. I go through all them emotions, but then I just go home or go to the hotel and get some rest. Because a lot of times I got to be on the road to get either home or I got another show coming up or whatever the case may be.
How often do you travel? You said weekend, so I'm assuming that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like this week. So I wrote a book. So I'm an author as well. Thank God. February 17th. I have a book that I wrote called "It's a Beautiful Pain." It's my autobiography. So, like for instance, this week I got a book signing from 3 to 4, and then I have a comedy show from 4 to 5. And then the next week I got a comedy show that I'm going to just to enjoy. And then March 9th I got to be in Chattanooga. March 16th I got to be in Gary, Indiana. I think I'm off March 23rd. I think I got some March 23rd or March 30th. And then I got to be in Carolinas in April, South Carolina, 2 times in April. And then May, I gotta be somewhere in May. So I'm constantly building. I get a call every day to do the show.
So I was gonna say,
Somewhat.
what do you do Monday? So when you're not traveling, because either you're traveling to do a show, you're in one of three places. You're preparing to do a show, doing a show, or you're in the after show part.
I
What
mean,
do you yeah? What do you do that rare time that you just have nothing to do?
just catch up on just either my sleep or just really in meditation and really spending time with God. Like, what's next? Because to me this is all surreal. Like, I'm living a dream. I'm living in the will of God. I'm doing what I was created to do, like I said before. So I'm living a dream. So some days I wake up and I pinch myself. Say, man, I'm really doing what I love to do. And thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, because like I said, I wanted to make this first month with the new format comics because I think comics are a special set of artists. They
Yeah.
are precise. They are practitioners. They're everything. A good comic. Now,
We
I'm not
we we're hope. We're hope. I have so many people have come up to me and be like, I needed that today. You don't understand. I'm going through it with my wife. I'm going through it with my husband. I felt like I was worthless today. But you brought something to the table that lets me know I can do this. That's all.
Yep. And
That's way more than any money you can make for me. That's more than anything because I know what I'm doing is changing the atmosphere.
I got one other question though. I
Sure.
gotta ask it before because I'm gonna go back to these churches. So when a church pays you, is it a love offering?
I used to take love office, but I'm a professional. No, it's contracts.
See, that's what I thought. I'm like, does he do contracts or does I don't know. That's why I'm
Yeah,
asking because I'm like, oh no.
I have a now. Don't get me wrong. There's times where God will lead me to do something where it is way less than what they can pay me. It just depends. Once again, I'm a Christian. I'm led by the Spirit. But in 9 out of 10 times, it got to be a contract.
And it's at either Shiloh Baptist Church, Friendship Baptist Church, Metropolitan.
Any church.
Same four names. I'm like, can we do something, y'all? Can we mix it
Be,
up?
because it is ministry. First of all, it is ministry. But with ministry, you got to understand that there's times where you have to, because some church folks, not church, not Christian, not Jesus, but sometimes church folks will not honor their word.
That's true.
And you
Shouldn't
know,
be
and
like
like,
that, but yes, you were definitely
but
right.
sometimes I gotta turn down things because I live in Atlanta, and I have a lot of churches in Indianapolis want to book me, but I have to tell them I live in Atlanta, and this is what I'm charging because it doesn't make sense for me to lose money.
Right, because you
Yeah,
got to eat, sleep, pay your bills.
yeah, I got to do all that.
Now, yeah, now don't. Yeah, that's. Talk briefly before I get to the comments because we got some comments before we go. But
Yeah,
um, talk about briefly your book. You said you wrote a book.
yeah. It's called "It's a Beautiful Pain." It's 8 chapters. It's just dealing with the redemption, the recovery, and the resurrection of Donald Martin.
Where can people buy that book at?
So you can go to Amazon. It was released on February 17th, Amazon. Or you can go to beautifulpain, all one word, .net. Beautifulpain.net. The book is $21.97. Give it about 3 weeks. If you order from the beautifulpain.net, it is an autographed copy. Give it up to 3 weeks for you to receive your book.
Yes, because I think everyone should. I believe in supporting. Even though you're in Atlanta, you have Indianapolis. Oh, he came
My
up.
heart, my
Okay.
my heart is in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I was gonna say I try to keep it local, but we all family.
Yeah,
So
people, because when you, I
yeah,
guess when you ask for people, they mention my name. A lot of people mention my name.
yep.
But yeah,
But
yeah.
definitely now you're Batman and Robin.
Yeah. I'm about to go. I'm about to go back. That's good.
Um, but I wanted to let you talk about that book so that people can support you. Um, Final question before I get to comments: how can people connect to you?
Well, they can connect with me social media wise is for show. F is in Frank, O is in Oscar, S is in Sam, H is in Henry, O is in Oscar. 413. That's my Instagram. Or as you can see, my name Donald Martin. I'm at capacity. So the one you want to be is Donald Martin for show the comedian. I'm at capacity, but you can't follow me. And you can also TikTok. It is Fix Your Face 413. Fix Yo Face FACE 413. Or they
Okay.
can call me 317-701-5278. 317-701-5278 to book me.
Thank you so much. So we're gonna get to these final comments here. There's not too many, but we'll just go over. Parker says that 1 hour and 15 minutes is long because I thought pretty much the same thing. I'm like, how do you stand up there and do that?
But
Big,
that's when you have stuff to talk about.
yeah, because I'll be like, the weather outside, it's
Yeah.
cold, and what had happened was I would go off. Parker also says your callbacks to previous jokes is something a lot of comics comedians do, and it can be a real good skill.
Yeah.
And this person has rarely comes in. Hi, Kiko. Shout out to Tracy and Mr. Martin. Thank you for your
Thank you very
comment.
much, Kiko. Appreciate you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, he rarely comes in, so I'm glad. I want to thank everybody. I've had such a good time talking to these comics. It's too bad I can't go into these next month, but I'm doing actors next month. That's more of my wheelhouse, and I'm looking forward to that. But I've had a tremendous time with all the comics. I've laughed. I've needed it. Thank you, sir, for your words of encouragement because I greatly needed it. Remember, everybody who is watching and who will watch later, the after party. The after party where we will be discussing that time, the issue that mankind has struggled with, fought over. Who's the best food mascot? That's what we will be discussing. That's going to be February the 29th, not the 22nd. The 29th. You have to be a Patreon to get that link. I'm looking forward to it. I'll also be launching a call in, but I will announce that when it comes. Remember to like this video, share this video, comment on this video. And if you don't do anything else, subscribe to this channel. I am 23 away from 200 subscribers, on my way to 1,000. I know I can do it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great evening. Thank you, sir, for coming. Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. God bless you guys.